Hello, hello. Yalla man, we still have 4 chapters. And yeah. We first did the Agile Perspective, chapter 11. Now, 11.1, we're going to do the Business Intelligence Perspective. Well, the Business Intelligence Perspective highlights the unique characteristics of business analysis when practiced in the correct context of transforming, integrating, and enhancing data. All right, it kind of highlights the characteristics of business analysis when practiced with the context of transforming and integrating and enhancing data. As in, when you take something and you translate it into something else, that's where intelligence kind of kicks in, correct? The focus on business intelligence is the transformation of data into value-added information, where to source it, how to integrate it, and how to enhance and deliver the analytic insight to support business decision-making. Of course, business intelligence initiatives apply data-centric system architectures as well as technologies and tools to deliver reliable, consistent, high-quality information that enables stakeholders to better manage strategic, tactical, and operational performance. I feel like they're saying the same thing they always do. Like you get data and you kind of like systematize the data, or you create an architecture around the data, and you apply technologies and tools in order to deliver reliable, consistent, high-quality information. And that information is used by stakeholders to better manage strategic, tactical operations and performance. Isn't that it? Right? 11.2.1. And just like before, we have a change scope. There's a business analysis scope. There's methodologies and approaches, underlying competencies, and impact on knowledge areas. These are the standards, right? So what's the change scope? Breadth of change. The key objective of business intelligence system is the consistent definition and usage of information throughout the organization and establishment of a single point of truth. For diverse business and data and solution architecture that can integrate multiple data sources from within and potentially from outside the organization, provides the foundation of the business intelligence solution. Like all they're saying is, when it comes to business intelligence, there's one thing that kind of like is always refined as everything moves up and down, as everything is flowing back and forth, or the organization is attempting new things. There's one thing that kind of like, keeps coming back to mind, or at the very least, there's one thing that keeps you small. Keeps what? The core keeps growing, the engine keeps growing, and that's where business intelligence basically kicks in. And basically, here it is. That's a visual of it, right? Like external systems, basically data sources. There's a partner industry or a public, or internal systems. There's corporate business area, ad hoc, isolated. There are other sources, machine data, web data, audio data, document data, web scraping, whatever it is, like research, whatever it is that we're doing. We integrate the data, we transform it, we manage the data quality, and then it kind of like dives into this engine that we're talking about. Or maybe this is still within the engine. But anyways, let's just say there's a data integration is the step before we receive it as a enterprise or a business, and then there's basically like the support that we need afterwards. So enterprise data view, we store them, we kind of like put them in warehouses. We selectively kind of like we take the data that we receive and we split them. Some of them are unstructured, some of them are analytical. And analytical sandboxes are basically like, if you take how many people came on a monthly basis, and you take how much sales you made on a monthly basis, and you take how much orders that were canceled on a monthly basis, you get like a metric, right? I feel that's what the analytical sandboxes are. And And ultimately, decision support, there's the data analytics and information delivery, and the decision points, where the cyclical reports, ad hoc queries, interactive dashboards, conditional alerts, and these are basically where you get to see the data, right? 1 second, let me check for something though. Ad hoc meaning. So ad hoc is a Latin phrase meaning literally for this in English. It's typically signifies a solution designed for a specific purpose. Okay. These are ones kind of like that happen on the spot, I guess. So the business intelligence promotes an enterprise-wide view of information management to support the conceptual framework. Business intelligence initiative may also involve the development of infrastructure serves in the organization, such as data governance and meta management. So you get it. So like business intelligence is literally the whole business. And things right now, like all the words that they've been using so far are kind of like clicking together right now. Because what's happening is they're I don't know if they're sinking in or they're kind of like becoming more and more relevant because they're repeating themselves, but like they're repeating themselves. But ultimately, like, what business intelligence is to kind of like, make sure we're not getting bad data, make sure we're not assessing the data wrong, and make sure we're not kind of like producing it in the wrong areas, right? That's basically it. Business intelligence initiatives focus on information needed to support decision making at or across different levels within the organization. So there's the executive level, management level, and process level. Executive is strategic decision, management level is tactical, right? Like executive level is why are we doing, I guess. Management level is like tactical or supports tactical decision, or what are you doing? How are you doing it? And interesting. So executive level is strategic, right? And strategic is, I guess it's why. And management level is basically how. And the process level is what? Does the process level kind of like do the things? Where information needs are initially expressed or identified at a particular level, the business analyst investigates the business implications at other levels to assess the overall, impact of the change on the organization. Each level, the business needs may involve any or all the following: communication requirements for the development of new reporting or replacement of existing reporting, information requirements for the addition or extension of analytic functionality, data integration requirements for the construction or modification of enterprise data, view with regard to data sources, definitions, translations. So here basically at each level they're saying like how kind of like requirements differ, or maybe like we're able to, the changes, how they impact and how they kind of like translate upwards and downwards for the addition of extension or analytic functionality and here for reporting and show a smooth strategy, data integration requirement for the construction of modification on the enterprise data view with regard to data sources and definitions. It's like transformation rules and shit. And how these things happen on each fucking level, right? Because like, the requirements differ at each level, information requirements differ at each level, and data integration requirements differ at each level. Value and solution delivered. The value of the business and intelligence initiative is the ability to provide timely, accurate, and high value and actionable information for those people and systems who can use it effectively. What's the point of getting like something valuable, and not giving it to the people involved? And better informed decisions making all levels that lead to improved business performance, and strategic processes such as the market analysis, customer engagement, and product development, of course. We have to kind of like see how things work. Tactical processes such as stock control and financial planning, and operational processes such as credit assessment, fault detection, and accounts payable monitoring. These are values and solutions delivered, and it kind of seems that they're giving us a whole like a set of standard base, like I don't know. They're giving a lot of examples: credit assessment, fault detection, if we're doing something basically pertaining money or loans. Uh, Stock control, financial planning, if it's tactical, as in like operational and selling point, I guess, and like strategic processes such as market analysis. Yeah, like I don't know, man. It feels like it's a dry way to kind of like explain them. These improvements of our organization, current and future performance, may be realized as increased revenues and reduced costs. Khamenyuki. Delivery approach. As business intelligence solutions represent a range of delivery options to meet the emerging information needs of stakeholders, the priorities of the organization. Every solution kind of has its own. Well, I don't know if you're thinking about it in solution. It's data, right? So sometimes something is needed within a week. Sometimes it's needed within a day. Sometimes it's within a month, or a year, or now. Extensible and scalability of the solution architecture provide the support and business decision making to be progressively introduced or enhanced at different levels in the organization, from strategic senior executive through tactical management or operational staff systems. Okay, you lost me, guys. I'm sorry, man. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of now and later. It's something that me and the person I used to work with. All right. The extensibility and scalability of solution architecture provided for the support of business decision making and progressively introduced or enhanced. Okay. So the different levels of an organization, from strategic senior through tactical management to operational staff, all right. In target functional areas and organization from specific area through an enterprise-wide implementation. Scalability of solution architecture. Like in the solution architecture goes all the way up and down. Infrastructure services that provide data management, analytics, and presentation capabilities facilitate a phased or incremental development strategy in respect to inclusion, coordination of control and data sources, and analysis and development. It's a centralized, it's this part, well, everything pertaining to business intelligence seems to be centralized, right? Like, seems to be like everything has to pass through it in order for it to kind of like go anywhere. Because that's where the data gets collected, that's where decisions are being made, that's how decisions are being made, that's the resource of the company. Like the overall, hey man, we've been doing this for a while, these are the things that we learned, these are the things that we figured out, and all that shit. And major assumptions, the following is a list of major assumptions of a business intelligence initiative. Existing business processes, exactly the business intelligence initiative, the knowledge book, right? Transactional systems can provide source data that is definable and predictable, cross-functional data infrastructure that is needed to support a business intelligence solution has not been precluded by the organization or technical, financial, political culture on the ground. And the organization recognizes that process reengineering can change the management might be needed in order to effectively realize the value from the business, right? So like process reengineering, cross-functional data infrastructure, like there's always flows happening that require information and resources. And that is practically what this does. That is practically what this SHUSM does. What business intelligence is. It's basically the engine. 11.2.2, business analysis scope. Well, there's what's the scope? There's change sponsor, change targets, business analysis position, business analyst outcomes. That's it. Okay, no, it's not that big of a deal. The change sponsor of the business intelligence initiative is ideally the highest level role from the organization unit affected by the change. And think about it this way: it's like, oh, all right, like the manager in the actual warehouse, for example, wants to change a process. Well, ultimately, you have to go to, for example, the CEO that has to approve that this process will shift the strategy of the entire company, or will require some time before it shifts the strategy of the entire company, right? And this provides the constituent, cohesive approach to the shared usage of data assets within the cross-functional architecture of the business intelligence solution. Yeah, if you always have to be aligned to something, and then basically that's how it is. You're aligned to something. Uh, all right. And the targets of business intelligence initiatives are business decisions made by people or processes or multiple levels of the organization that can be improved for better reporting, monitoring, or predictive modeling or performance-related data. The targets of a business intelligence initiative are the business decisions made by people or processes at multiple levels in the organization that can be improved by better reporting, monitoring, or predictive modeling of performance-related data. All right, so this is one sentence. That's why I'm not able to kind of like highlight the one thing. So instinctively, I have something in my mind that's telling me like, what are the things you want to change, and ultimately these things that you change are going to like impact the rest of the organization. So, or processes at multiple levels in the organization that can be improved by better reporting, monitoring, or predictive modeling. Okay. As in other initiatives, the business analysts act as the primary liaison between business intelligence stakeholders and solution providers in the elicitation, analysis, and specification for business needs. In addition to that role, the business analyst may also participate in technical activities that are specific to business intelligence, including enterprise data modeling, decision modeling, specialized presentation design, for example, dashboards, and ad hoc query design. So here they're kind of like, all right, first things first, like the same way change sponsor and change targets, like, any person involved is a target, right? So we're good. Anything that can be improved, anything that could be adjusted is a target. That's basically what they're saying. And our position is always basically like, is always a flow between the problem and the stakeholder. That needs to be like, a business analyst is a support officer. A business analyst who is competent in the definition of business requirements and the assessment of potential solutions. Well, this serves as one of those combination roles, like intelligence functional analyst who has an understanding of data mining and predictive analytic techniques, as well as skills in developing visualizations. Data analyst who's experienced, by the way, all of this could be substituted with AI. Like, there are a lot of words, but like, fuck them. Who's experienced in defining source systems data to be used for the required analytical purposes. A data modeler architect who has designed and defining the source and target structures of the logical data models. Business analysis outcomes is the business intelligence discipline. Business analysis is focused on the major component of the solution architecture. The specification of business decisions to be influenced or changed, the collection of data from source systems, the integration of divergent sources into a convergent enterprise framework, and the provision of target information and analytic insight to business stakeholder. The business analyst is responsible for the analysis of specification for the business requirements for all the three components and collaborates with technical specialists to assess a solution artifacts, just like every business analyst does. The major outcomes of business analysis are business process coverage, defines the scope of the change with a high-level overview. Decision models, you identify the information requirements for each business decision to be supported and specify the business rules logic. Naturally, we design the models. Source logical data model and data dictionary. The source logical data model provides standard definition of the required data as held in each source system. The source data dictionary provides a definition of each element and the business rules applied to it, business description type, format and strength, legal values, and any interdependencies. All right, so we make the data model and we make the data dictionary. We also make the data quality assessment. We evaluate the completeness, validity, and reliability of the data from source systems. It identifies where further verification. Remember, we're still talking around the business intelligence perspective. So that, like, what we're designing is the engine that receives data and kind of like pushes data out. And target the logical data model and the data dictionary. The target logical data model represents as an integrated normalized view of the data structures, which is the one we create, and normalized as in like people are able to normally or kind of like be able to connect with it. And Transformation rules map source and target data elements to specify requirements for the decoding and encoding of values of the data correction. Business analytic requirements define the information and communication requirements for decision support outputs. These include predefined reports, dashboards, balanced scorecards, ad hoc reports, online analytical processing, queries, data mining. A query is basically like a request. So like OLAP is an API where you kind of like click on it and the program kind of like, I don't know, it's like think of it as a prompt for an API. And when you're talking to AI and you prompt it, it goes and searches for something. But a query is basically like a more specific one. Data mining, prescriptive analytics, conditional alerts, complex event processing, and predictive modeling. The specifications for each output can include data selections, dimensions, level of granularity, filtering criteria, and applied possibilities for drill down, slice, and dice, and user access and permissions. Presentation rules to define data element format, translation labels, lookups, calculations, and data aggregations. And solution of architecture, you kind of like give the solution, you create the architecture for the solution. Provides a high-level design of view of the decision support requirements of such functional area, will map to the business intelligence framework. It is typically presented in the form of a process or data flow model that defines where the source data is held, how pull, push, and when frequency, latency, and data will be extracted, where the transformations will take place, cleansing, encoding, enhancement, where the data will be physically stored, data warehouse, data marts, and how the data will flow to presentation outputs, reporting facilities, query tools. Well, they're basically saying a business analyst kind of like does all this shit, right? Like he's the one who finds, who connects, who filters, who adjusts, who decides who the people are that are in charge, who the people that are targeted. Like he fills in the stakeholders all in all. And what they end up doing is basically like, doing everything from like, doing the creating the process of research all the way to creating a solution. And now here we are, methodologies and approaches. Woohoo! What are the methodologies? There are no formalized business intelligence methodologies that impact the responsibility and activities of the business analyst. However, a business intelligence initiative can operate within alongside methodologies applicable to other disciplines and perspectives which themselves might impact the business analysis role. So basically, as a business analyst, you use your brain and you decide how to approach things because there's nothing that's kind of like fermented. But we are very much relying on your intuition. Approaches. Within the business intelligence framework, there are a number of less former and potential overlapping approaches that map to particular businesses and technical contexts. Types of analytics and, and I feel like there's types of analytics is one of those approaches, supply and demand driven approach. There's structured and unstructured data approach. Okay, so hear me out. Here they're talking about we're either approaching through data analytics. There are 3 types of data analytics represent incremental solutions, increasing levels of system complexity cost. Descriptive analysis, predictive analysis, and prescriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis uses historical data to analyze past performances. Business information can be categorized and consolidated to best suit the stakeholders' view, including executive management dashboards, middle-level management, key performance indicators, scorecards, and operational level management charts. No assumptions are made as to which situation are of interest to the stakeholder, what decisions need to be made, or what actions might be carried out. The business analysis focus is on the information and communication requirements for standard reporting and dashboards. Blah, 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 blah. In descriptive analysis, you don't predict, right? So they're splitting it. Because when you're descriptive analysis, your goal is just to describe basically historically what has happened. You use the data, you use your skills, and you kind of like do that. A predictive analysis applies statistical analysis method to historical data to identify patterns and then uses the understanding of relationships and trends to make predictions about future events. The particular situations that are of interest to the stakeholders are specified and their business rules are defined. The business analysis focus on the information requirements for pattern recognition through data mining, predictive modeling, forecasting, and condition-driven alerts. When it comes to predictive, you predict based on the things that have been passing through or the things that you've been going through. Prescriptive seems like like expands on the analytics to define decisions to be made and initiate appropriate action to improve business performance. Statistically, optimization and simulation techniques can be used to determine the best solution or outcome among the various choices for situations. All right, so like we can only predict based on history and that information what it gave us before. Prescriptive is basically kind of like prescribe something. So you're prescribing medication so somebody feels better. So you're prescribing, it's not necessarily like a solution more than it is kind of like a change, a shift that allows. Okay. Full specification and the associated decisions and potential actions are required. The business analysis focus is on the business objective, constraints, criteria, and the business rules that underpin the decision-making process. Right? And the objectives and priorities of a business intelligence initiative can be based on the technical goals of improving existing information delivery system supply-driven, or on the business goals that are improving the appropriate information to improve decision-making processes and demand-driven, being demand-driven. So one is improving the delivery systems, which is supply-driven, and improve decision-making processes, which is improving delivery systems, which is supply-driven. Because like a delivery system that supplies others, or improving decision-making processes, which is basically demand-driven, because then you're working with the market directly. Supply-driven assumes a view of for a given cost, what value can we deliver? This approach maps existing systems data to define what data is available. A common implementation strategy would be to phase the inclusion of existing databases to the business intelligence solution architecture, progressively replace or repair existing outputs, and explore new insights that might be gained from the consolidated data. Demand-driven assumes the view of, for a given value, what cost do we incur? This approach starts with identifying the information output and what costs do we incur? For a given value, what cost do we incur? Supply-driven, for a given cost, what value can we deliver? Interesting, okay, so like I said, I thought it was basically you versus the market. What are you giving the market, and what's the market demanding from you? But I feel that's the same thing, because like for X amount of money, how much more value can we give? And for X amount of value, how much less money can we like shoot a smooth? How much less money can it cost? The approach starts with identifying the information output needed to support business actions, and then tracing the information back to underlying data sources to determine feasibility and cost. It provides the incremental supplementation strategies that are not determined by existing database structures and allows for early exploration usage of business intelligence beyond existing reporting requirements. All right, and there's structured and unstructured data. There are two types of data that business intelligence approaches consider. There's structured data, which is basically traditional data warehouse solutions that have been based on consolidating the net structured data, numerical and categorical, recorded in operational systems where business information sets are identified by predefined structures referred to as schema on right. And where the rules-driven template ensures data integrity, business analysis focus on rules, data models, data dictionaries, and business rules to define information requirements and capabilities. Now, when it comes to unstructured data, business intelligence solutions can include semi-structured or unstructured data, which includes text, images, audio, video, and data frequently comes to the external sources. For this type of data, the structure and relationships are not predefined and no specific. So here, I think they're highlighting that unstructured data is there are no predefined relationships between the data we're collecting and the organization rules that have been applied to ensure the data integrity. Information sets are derived from raw data referred to schema on read. Schema on write are basically our data, right? Structured data is data that we kind of created, it seems. Right? Schema on write, as in like you're writing on the schema, where the rules-driven template ensures data integrity. Like, we take data and we write them. Whilst like, and it seems we need unstructured data in order to create structured data. That seems to be the thing. All right. Underlying competencies now. Woo-hoo. All right, we're gonna take a break.